Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of VMTV Vaults with myself, Kyle Diamond. My guest for this episode is Mr. Andrew Fisher. Andrew has a huge fight coming up at Bellator London, Bellator 267, which is of course headlined by the huge rematch between Michael Venom Page and Douglas Lima. That fight will be against Robert Whiteford and is a huge one for his career. Though I plan to just talk about that with him, as well as talk about he is a coach at Team Fish Tank, which some of you may know some of their fighters. They've got a very good European stable, a lot of good UK guys in there. So that was the plan. We ended up talking mostly about a big layoff in his career that happened recently. He returned to the cage last year, but apart from that he had almost 3 years out of the cage, which I expected was to do with things like the gym and things like that, but it turns out there was a bit of a more interesting story there that we sort of dived into and definitely shed some light on that period in his life as well as his career as a whole. Without any more ado, the man himself to tell you all about it, Mr. Andrew Fisher. So thank you so much for your time, man, because you are a very busy man. Just from looking at your social media earlier, I was like, well, okay, so there's literally, when I'm thinking about interviewing a fighter, you know, there's normally one or two things that we're going to talk about, whether that's an upcoming fight, whether that's something in the history, whether that's like to do with a promotion, whether it's to do with the team, but you have got literally every single one of them on top of your family as well. Like, how do you manage all of that?
I just like, well, I do really. I don't really do anything I dislike doing.
Yeah.
So I would do it on my downtime anyway. You know, I like playing with kids. I like taking them places. And I really enjoy training. So I can't really grumble. Do you know what I mean? Like I am really busy, and obviously my responsibilities with my kids and my business do take up a lot of my time as well. But I wouldn't change my life. You know, I've got the best job in the world, so I can't really grumble, kind of.
Does that those kind of things that you do outside of fighting, does that play into your career over the last few years? Because obviously you fought last year, right? But then was it 3 years between your last fight and the one before it?
Yeah, I went so my last fight was actually Grimshaw. The fight before that was a Russian guy for ACB, and then I went to Australia to fight, you know, Lewis Palomino, who had the fights with Gaethje.
Okay, yeah.
I went to fight him in Australia, and then my last training session, I got a really bad concussion.
Right.
It was like a week out, and anyway, I felt ill. I couldn't keep my eyes open. It was really poorly. So the fight was cancelled. And I came home, and it just didn't get better, and I had loads of problems still off that. So I kind of went to see my doctors and stuff, and they just tell you to go and sit in a dark room, really. So I kind of like. So I did that for quite a few months, and it still wasn't getting better. So then I started researching myself,
Right.
and I found loads of ways to fix it. I did. So but it took us like, if I knew now how to do it, it would have maybe took us like 3 months. But I
Right.
didn't really know, so it ended up taking us like 2.5 3 years.
Right, that's crazy. Is that obviously you said about you have to just take a lot of time to just rest, right? As part of the recovery, but is that when a lot of the things outside of the cage started to become more important in your life, or were they always like big parts as well?
No, but I don't really didn't have a dad. You know, my dad left when I was quite young, so I didn't really have that kind of role model thing. So I think because of that, it's made me want to be like really try extra be a good dad. So
Yeah.
I don't think I've just recently done that. I think I would like to think I've been a good dad since my
Yeah.
kids have been pretty small.
Yeah, but totally. What I mean more is that like you seem to have kind of like a life outside of fighting already set up. Like it's a big thing with fighters of like, well, you live fighting for so long that what are you going to do
Oh, when I
afterwards?
finish, you mean?
And I see that already, you know, obviously you've got TFT, which you already do. And do you work with a promotion as well? I saw something about a
I've
Sunderland
got
promotion.
so me and my business partner, we've got a promotion called Rise and Conquer, which is in Sunderland.
Yeah.
So pretty much everything that I've got set up for when I finish fighting is pretty much to do
Yeah.
with fighting still, you know. So, but yeah, I enjoy doing that as well, you know. And then for coaching wise, I was doing this for free before people started to want to pay us. Same as fighting, I was fighting obviously for free, and I thought it's only now I'm like, I don't know. I think I've been a pro for 13 years, and it's only the past couple of years really I've actually made any money. Before that, I would just be like fighting for absolute peanuts. Really, wouldn't even cover me training costs, you know. So
Yeah.
I just because I like doing it.
Were those two things with the working with the Sunderland promotion and being a coach, did they become, I suppose what I meant was, did they become more prominent in that period where you had the concussion? Because it's kind of like,
Oh no! I was doing them anyway. I was doing them
really,
before.
really, right,
Like I say, I didn't start doing any of this stuff to think, oh, when I finish fighting, I
right.
will then have this, and this. They just kind of happened.
Mm.
I think I just started coaching just because somebody just asked us to coach at a gym, and then I started that way, and then it kind of like over the years, it kind of grew and grew. That's my baby, sorry.
That's what, don't worry, mate.
Over the years, it kind of grew and grew, and then just for the promotion side of it, there's not really a great deal of shows up in the northeast. So,
Right.
my business partner, he asked if we would put a show on and if I would like match for it really, and I just said yes, and I kind of just went from that. So nothing was planned for when I finished fighting or anything, but it has turned out all right, I think, for that.
Yeah. So what was when you were getting close to being able to get back into competing after that period off with the concussion, what was it like starting to pick things up again? Were you coaching before you started getting back into it yourself after the concussion?
So I was in a pretty bad way, I was, to be honest. So I would go to the gym and I would have a hard time like standing up as well. I was very dizzy and stuff like that quite often. And I was just so tired all the time. It was awful. So I would go and I would just like instruct some of my more experienced pupils like on what to do to show the techniques, and then they will kind of get on with it, you know. But I don't really. I try to teach my kids that it doesn't matter how sick you are, you still got to provide. You know what I mean? So like I don't really like taking much time off, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was definitely a really hard part of my life, to be honest.
So how did it feel when you got back in there after all that time off?
I enjoyed it. I can't
Hmm.
imagine a time where I'm going to stop competing or want to compete.
Right.
So like, I'm 36 now, but I really do feel like I'm in prime. I feel really good. I feel I'm training good. I feel I'm learning better than I ever have done as well. And like, so I can't really see a time when I want to stop fighting, you know? Like, I don't know, maybe one day I'll be in a fight and I just feel like I haven't got it anymore. And then maybe that'll be the kind of like the telltale signs. But at the minute, I feel really good, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And I mean, it's got to help as well when you're getting big fights off at the end of it, right? Like, not only are you feeling good, but even with a big gap in your career like that, it seems to have not really slowed down the momentum at all. Like, you've come straight back with big opponents, you know, and then obviously this fight coming up with Whiteford, it's like straight back on it kind of thing.
Yeah, like I've kind of got this thing where I just because it doesn't matter who you're going to fight against, you're going to get. I think you're going to get nervous anyway and stuff like that. So I've got this thing where whoever I get offered, I just say yes, and then I worry about it afterwards. You know, I don't really like to pick my fights or anything. I'll just say yes, and then I'll start trying to figure out how I'm going to beat them after that.
Yeah, totally. So, when it comes to this upcoming fight, how have things changed from when you fought previously, and then you had the big gap, then you came back last year? Has there been a lot of differences? But obviously, like being a coach and things like that, has your game changed a lot between like that
Um,
period of your career to this?
I feel I've got a bit of better understanding of stuff. You know, I've learned some better fundamental rules, and I've learned how to apply them a bit better. I think I'm coaching better. I think I always used to just want to be tough as well, and I would kind of like spar like 2 times a day with
Yeah.
anybody, any weight class and stuff like that as well. And I kind of realized that that was probably one of the reasons why I probably got a concussion. And also like spawn dehydrated, so I've spent a lot of time fixing my nutrition and things like that, and making sure like my brain's healthy.
Yeah.
So I did definitely. I had some massive lesson learning or due to it as well, you know, and hopefully I've kind of like fixed a lot of mistakes I used to have as well, really. And I'm a lot. The older I've getting, I think I'm a lot more sensible now as well. You know, like I say with the sparring, I used to like just spar with heavyweights, you know, and just like and think it was all right.
Yeah.
But it's not really, you know. It's helped me grow as a coach as well. I understand things a bit better as well.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I wanted to mention about, because you have the coach dynamic as well as being an active fighter. Whenabouts was it that you signed to Bellator? Was it just before the fight that you had last
So
year?
I was signed to ACB
Yeah.
It's ACA now. It's called.
Hmm.
It's a Russian organization, and then my contract. So this is why I was still poorly, to be honest. But I still kept thinking I was going to fight, and I was thinking as soon as this clears up, I'm going to have a fight straight away.
Yeah.
So my contract was kind of out with ACB, so they offered us a renewal. Then I asked Bellator. Yeah, I think I messaged. No, Bellator messaged me and asked them to sign. I said, look, the contract's just run out. They've offered me this. Can you offer me more? And they offered us like slightly more.
Hmm.
And so I signed with them, but I was still poorly then. So I was kind of like, I didn't want to
Hmm.
I didn't want to miss out an opportunity, but I
Yeah.
also didn't want to have to turn a fight down either. And then kind of like, I think this when the COVID stuff started happening,
Yeah.
so the shows got slowed down a bit, and then it kind of worked perfect timing for us, and I got off that fight with Ash Grimshaw, and then it kind of went from there.
Yeah, because I mean, there's I've spoken to a lot of fighters recently who were signed to Bellator as part of their big like European expansion they were doing, and then because of the pandemic, where they couldn't promise people fights, they couldn't put on
We having
events.
that.
Yeah, so that's why I was interested from your perspective because you have the side to it where you're a coach, and am I right in thinking that you coach some guys that were part of that Bellator thing that are now not fighting for Bellator anymore?
Yeah, Cal Elnor, signed
Yeah,
Bellator. Um,
I knew Cal for sure. I wasn't sure if there was any others.
yeah, Justin Burlington was at mine for quite a bit, but he's moved to Four Corners now. He's moved to
Yeah,
Liverpool, so I suppose he was at the time,
yeah.
but that was only two really.
What's that like from a coach standpoint? Because it's got to be a difficult thing for the fighters just to find out. A lot of them found out like just randomly one day that they're not going to be competing anymore.
Yeah,
But
well,
also,
I kept checking the lists of who'd been cut, hoping I wouldn't see myself on there.
yeah, yeah, I
but
can imagine.
but it's just the business, isn't it? I was signed to Bellator in 2013, and I lost two
Right.
fights in the trot, and I got cut, and I felt that like my first fight, I lost the decision, Then the second fight, um, I felt I don't know, I felt like a bit. The guy kind of killed the first two rounds a bit. He didn't do anything, and he
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
he just pinched it, and then I felt I turned on the third round, and I felt a little bit hard done by, because I felt I really went out to try and win the third round, and I got cut, so I was kind of like starting to show
Hmm.
what I could do, and so, but it just made us get better, like I had to get better, and then what, like 7 years later, I got
Yeah.
re-signed by them, and I feel like I needed that. I needed to lose there. I
Yeah.
was quite immature then, and I didn't really know what I was meant to do to win. Then, to be honest.
Yeah. And then, like you said, like it's a big learning thing, but also it helps, I would imagine, with being a coach where you've gone through that yourself. So when you're sat there and you can talk to a fighter and say, like, this setback will help you're a living example of
Yeah.
it firsthand that it does. So that must all
Oh,
just build into helping being a
oh,
coach.
definitely. I'm not one of these guys who was like just naturally gifted, and you know how it's like, oh, he's 10-0, he's amazing
Yeah.
him or anything. Like I wish I could have. When people tell you you're going to make a mistake or people tell you you're doing something wrong, I would just never listen to anybody, and I would just do it anyway,
Hmm.
and that would be a mistake, and I would just mess up, and then
Yeah.
hopefully I will get to eventually get to a point where I would maybe learn of other people's mistakes rather than having to make it myself in front of 50,000 people. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully I'm kind of at a point of maturity now where I can like spot my mistakes a bit earlier rather than just being a bit ignorant of it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Finally, I just wanted to ask you real quick because the Bellator event is huge. MVP, obviously, in the main event with Douglas Lima for a second time. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that fight because that is, I mean, as far as Bellator goes and Europe, that's as big as it gets for them.
Yeah, that's a absolutely huge fight, isn't it? I do always like about the English guys, like, but
Hmm. It's tough.
but I, like, but do you know what I mean? Just because I do want the English guys to do really, really good, like, so I do want to back them, but I do think Lima is probably a lot more well-rounded.
Hmm.
Like it's just a bit like when you say MVP, it's all them little jitters and the fakes, and like I think if Lima can kind of like not biting them as much and just input, like, do you know how Daly fought MVP? I
Yeah.
think Lima could do a better job than what Daly done with that. If he gets someone, I think Lima win. But MVP is just awful, like, and imagine just you'd be constantly blinking and not wanting to commit, just terrified to dip your head or do anything, or terrified to shoot.
Yeah.
So I may be sitting on the fence a bit, but I think Lima can do it. I would like to see MVP win if I'm honest though, but I do think Lima is a bit more well-rounded.
Yeah, no, I don't think
is that sitting on the fence enough for that?
See, I don't think there's an issue with sitting on the fence when it's like I know who I want to win. In the doubt, obviously, no one is doubting that MVP can do it. But when it's difficult when you've got a guy that's as well rounded as Lima, and they've been there before, and Lima won their first fight, so it's like I want MVP to win, obviously. But
I mean, Lima lost his last fight against that Russian guy, but he kind of like got just ground out, didn't he? Just like swished him a bit. So I don't know. That's only really to see Lima losing was that way, you know. And like MVP's not that kind of guy, is he?
No, it's a tough one. It's a great main event, great card, and of course your fight as well with Robert Whiteford. Absolutely brilliant, mate. All the best for the camp and for the fight, and thank you for your time, mate.
Oh, thank you very much, man. Thank you for having us on, mate.
No worries. Cheers, man. That is it for this episode of VMTV Vaults. I have been Kyle Diamond and, of course, my guest, Mr. Andrew Fisher. So many thanks to him. As mentioned at the start, Andrew returns to the cage once again for Bellator's return to London. That is on the 1st of October. And, of course, it's headlined by the huge rematch between Michael Venom Page and Douglas Lima. And Andrew's fight against Robert Whiteford is an absolutely brilliant matchup from a Euro standpoint. Like I said, thank you to Andrew. Really interesting side to his career that I think a lot of people won't know about. I think a lot of people know about the gym and things like that. But yeah, really interesting to get that standpoint on his career. Make sure to hit subscribe, like this video. Make sure you don't miss an episode of VMTV Vaults. You know how it goes. And we will catch you on the next one.